welcome back, everybody. Star Wars Celebration is happening, and with that, so much Star Wars news and content to discuss in today's special episode of the Chatooine Show, where we cover the new Star Wars movie Starfighter, a new animated series, Maul Shadow Lord, and everything else that's happened this week. And that's Lunga. I'm Star Wars Only, and welcome back to the Chatooine Show. And, Lunga, how have you felt this entire weekend with Celebration? It's been a different celebration, hasn't it?
I haven't been paying attention
At all,
to be honest with you. I mean, I haven't watched any of this. I mean, it's like, if a little short or something pops up, I'll watch it. I may have read, an article here, like, I was like on StarWars.com. I would like look at it and say, oh, what's this? Okay, what's that? But it's like I'm not following the stream that like you were covering and shit. I'm not. It's because, like I talked to you before we started, it's like I don't want to watch this fucking boring ass bullshit of dumb questions and wishing Hayden Christensen a happy birthday and singing him fucking happy birthday and shit. And, with these, I don't want to see. It's like, I'll just read the articles later.
Yeah, get the important stuff, the actual information. Well, that's what's odd about this time around is that, as someone who has been covering the entire thing, because normally anytime a celebration happens, I'm normally there. I'm normally covering it as press, either officially or unofficially, and stuff like that. And I always get a good sense of the vibe of the celebration, what's going on, what's good, what's bad, and it's fun to cover. And covering it this past weekend, especially the live stream, it's been rough, man. There was so many instances throughout the stream where me and the people I was watching it with throughout the chat and everything like that were like, did they just cut to the teleprompter? They're not even showing us the people. That's the actual teleprompter of what the people are supposed to say. So many times throughout the stream, like specifically with Rosario Dawson on the Ahsoka panel, they were like, oh, so you knew Hayden back from theater when you guys were teens in high school and everything like that. She's like, oh, yeah, and she talks about that. Then they bring her onto the, Celebration live stage where all the fans are around them and everything. That's where they're singing happy birthday and doing all the interviews for the live stream. The interviewer is asking her, hey, what was it like knowing Hayden back in like high school during your teenage years? And so stuff like that kind of made you really tune out of, the stream. And throughout the stream, they're not really showing a lot of the panels. The big one, of course, was the Mandalorian and Grogu panel where they revealed the next Star Wars movie, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Something like that, I feel like there's almost no need to not have us being able to stream that, because there's so much news coming out this weekend that we'll talk about in the show and everything, but at least from someone who covers this, there should be a lot more conversation around all this breaking news. But because it's in Japan and there's such a time difference, and this is happening in the middle of the night for people in America who are sleeping, and because they're not
and are filling in with so much fluff, because honestly, like that little fluff shit, like and I know why they're doing it. I kind of hinted at it with you when we were talking about it, but like the fluff shit, that's like the stuff you're supposed to get as being an attendee. I get all this little extra shit, that people don't see and, and stuff like that. And the trailers, I understand it because that's the thing nowadays. The trailers are, exclusive to the cons and whatever. Okay, I get it.
Which is fine. I think no one minds that.
But the shit we're supposed to see on the live stream is supposed to be the big announcement, important news shit. Okay?
Yeah, not like all these Ryan Gosling and Sean Levy coming out on stage. That would be huge to have that.
Not the fluff pieces, and all they're giving us is the fluff pieces that at the end of the day is what they're doing is they're chopping those all up to be shorts and TikToks for engagement. That's all it's for. It's little fluff pieces, all these little things, these little short things to like, look at this, oh, look at that, oh, look at this, that don't really mean jack shit to what we're talking about, like to what we're interested in finding out. Yeah.
That's what it is. It's brain rot at the end of the day. Even the Manny Jacinto thing, which was one of the better interviews they actually had, you could see genuinely how sad he was throughout that interview. But they gave him a Stranger helmet, and it was the new he mentioned how he didn't take anything from the set of The Acolyte, and like I said, you could just see throughout the entire interview like how disappointed he was that it wasn't continuing and everything, and he kept talking past tense.
Yeah, and this is the thing that disconnect people don't get. They're like, oh, look, they're such fans. It's like, no, you guys are misunderstanding. I'm not saying he's not genuine. He is.
No, he absolutely was genuine. Oh, no. He was one of the best interviews.
But it's from an actor's perspective.
Yeah.
Okay? An actor, it's about plying your craft. Okay, it's like I don't know really anything about this thing. I really don't care. Like when you hear the people from Lord of the Rings who talk about their roles and how to get many of them didn't really know anything about Lord of the Rings. Like the only one that did was Christopher Lee. You know what I mean?
That's why it's always fascinating to hear the stories about him on set and everything like that. You need that, but that's because, like you're saying, they're having a genuine connection.
Like Ian McKellen, he's like, I don't even know. He didn't even know who he was playing. You know, he's like, I never read the books. I didn't know anything about it. You know what I mean? But from an actor's perspective, they spend so much time learning about the characters and becoming this character that it becomes just two good actors. It becomes real to them, you know, and they're in this role and they feel a connection to it and a connection to the other actors that are doing the same thing and the roles they're playing and the story they're trying to tell. So the genuine part of him feeling this way is because it's like, I really enjoyed this project. I believed in this project and I believed in these characters. That's from an actor's perspective. That's not from a fan's viewer's perspective. There's plenty of actors who love roles, love things they're in, and the shit that was garbage. People didn't like it, but they liked it because it's a different perspective. It's not a perspective of a fan and a consumer and a viewer. Then people don't always have that connection. They disconnect that a lot.
Well, it's been an interesting 2 days as someone who's streamed the entire thing and kind of seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of it. I would say yesterday the panels and the interviews were a little bit easier to digest. The first day they did a lot of crowd work, and that was kind of dull and boring and everything like that. But we got a lot more news on day one than we did day two, but we still got a good amount of news yesterday. I want to ask you kind of like the feeling going into the celebration. I don't think there's a lot of expectations for it. And, you know, I do want to get into the nitty gritty of all the stuff, but we've, you know, been away for a little while and everything. I'll say as someone who, you know, is actively involved with the celebration stuff and was hoping to go to this one, going into this, I don't think we really expected a lot, you know, because it's The Mandalorian and Grogu. It's Andor season 2, which is coming out in like 4, now maybe 3 days at this point. Tales of the Underworld is coming out on May 4th, and you know they've given us new stuff to look forward to next year and made next year an actually interesting year. But for the most part, going into the celebration, it just kind of felt like the routine of things with Star Wars. Of like, okay, we're gonna get more announcements, more confirmation, but nothing out of the ordinary. Now that we're 2 days in, I kind of feel like the feeling is still the same, even though they've given us a new Star Wars movie announcement, a new video game, all that stuff. So there's a lot going on, but the biggest news, you know, was the movie. How do you feel about Celebration so far? Now that we're 2 days into it, what are your expectations going into it? Like, are you like satisfied with this or dissatisfied?
Not really. It's pretty much what I expected it was going to be. And we, you know, we talked about this way back, you know, when we were still doing the show with Pelt Memes and stuff. It was, they're not going to give us anything really. They're not going to give us anything really precise. I mean, the movie, I guess, is kind of new, but we kind of knew about that too.
Them announcing it, I think, was the big kind of like, oh, okay. And I think that was the smartest thing they did. Is I think they kind of intentionally set our expectations low.
But what's the issue? Because they also talked about a lot of other movies, right? We have that
later, yeah.
We're gonna get into that, right? It's like, okay, you're telling me something else that may or may not happen. I don't know. You know what I mean?
That's the feeling.
So
that's the feeling people have.
There's the miasma of announcements that never come to fruition. Okay, so it's like, what do I believe? Should I even invest my any emotions into this? Because I'm probably not going to get it. You know what I mean? So, or it's going to be delayed, and then you bring back shit that we thought was dead. You know, and it's like, okay, well, let's talk a bunch about Andor. Well, I've been watching trailers from Andor. I'm excited about it. It's coming. I don't need Celebration to excite me from something that's coming next week.
This is another way to market it, but they've already been marketing it, and it's like it comes out in 3. Like in the interviews, they're like, "Well, I don't want to reveal anything." I'm like, "It's coming out in 3 days." Like I at this point, I'm not going to say you can't spoil it because you could absolutely, but with it coming in like 3 or 4 days, it's so funny that like the questions are just constantly kind of the same thing. Like I was talking about earlier, of like, "Oh well, how does it feel to come back to Andor? Say goodbye to Andor, and this chapter is over." And it's like, this is Star Wars Celebration. These interviews should be a lot more engaging. The insight should be, I think, a little different in my opinion. But that's not to say, some of the stuff they said wasn't interesting or engaging. But yeah, no, this celebration has been it didn't have high hopes going into it, and I think it, for the most part, did its job of delivering on the basic stuff that they needed to. You got confirmation of stuff that's coming. You have, if you have new stuff that is hopefully coming, but people are still skeptical about it. And one thing Goldman said, he hopped on for like 30 minutes the other night when I was covering the stream, is he said something that I think a lot of fans feel. He's like, if they announce something at one celebration and then they don't talk about it at the next one, it's probably not going to happen. And that's how a lot of people feel. And so that's why with a lot of the new stuff they announced at this one, people are now going to wait probably 2 years for the next celebration to see what they're going to say then, and if it's really going to come to fruition or not, And we got a mix of that. We got new stuff this time, and we also got doubling down on old stuff, and also stuff that they've announced that weren't talked about. But let's get into the nitty gritty of everything. If you're watching this live, listening to it later, of course, leave a like, help us out, and everything. If you're new here, subscribe. We'll have more shows in the future, or if you simply just want to support the show, stick around for the long haul. But the biggest news so far out of Celebration so far is that Sean Levy's movie starring Ryan Gosling, titled Star Wars Starfighter. It takes place 5 years after the events of Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, with an entire new cast of characters. Once again, Ryan Gosling will be the lead character. The film releases on May 28th, 2027. It's going to be a standalone feature. Lunga, this kind of came out of nowhere during the Mandalorian and Grogu panel. I will say I was pretty shocked. They even gave us, a little animated intro crawl thing for it that I think was unique. I don't want to say this came out of left field. As Sean Levy said,
the Sean Levy movie.
Yeah, we've been talking about that for a while, and it's curious because this is how I can sometimes tell who the diehards of the diehards are in the fandom, because people like me and you, we've been talking about this for three years now. This was never officially reported or announced throughout Lucasfilm or Star Wars. This was stuff reported by the trades, with Kathleen Kennedy always says, oh, that was just reported in the trades, doesn't mean it's happening. But this was reported in the trades, and it came out to be happening and everything, yet despite almost never having an actual official confirmation.
My demise has been greatly exaggerated.
Yeah, exactly. So it's nice to see this finally come to fruition. It did come out of left field. I actually do think it was a smart announcement, and I'll be honest, I can't say if I'm excited about it or not, because that's the feeling with all these Star Wars projects now, is they announce something and you're like, oh, it's another movie on top of the other 10 movies. Okay, who could have seen that? And this one's coming in 2 years. All right, sure, whatever you say. And I'll be honest, I know in my bones. I know this is happening. I know this one's actually going to happen. They said they're filming this fall and everything. The wheels on this one are turning, Lunga. I know you don't seem to believe it, but my reaction was there. I can say I remember when they announced it, the second, the minute, and everything like that. What was your reaction to this Star Wars Starfighter announcement?
Well, first of all, the rumors, and they made a to do about it on the stage. Well, the rumors are true. It's Ryan Gosling. People. I was expecting to be like to have a Kermit. When they announced it,
that would have made my fucking week.
Yeah. I mean, you can see that they're trying to do a little like Feige does, right? And that's smart, because Feige has been a master marketer. But let's be fair. As bad as the last phase of Marvel has been, Feige knows how to market the MCU. Okay. And all the shit they've had, if stuff they've had to cancel, is because of the whole fallout from Chapek, stuff from Chapek that they've had to say, we're not doing all this because he wanted to rush everything. Well, when he did this one, okay, and he brought Ryan Gosling out. So no, am I going to say I don't think it's happening? If they're bringing the actor out, we're pretty good. That is coming. And it's not like bringing back like Daisy Ridley, for example, because they've always brought her back for different things, for this interview or that interview. So just because you see Daisy Ridley doesn't mean we're going to see her movie yet. You know what I mean?
And let's be completely honest too, to the caliber of fame and celebrity between Daisy Ridley and
Ryan Gosling. Right.
If Ryan is not going to show up, if this isn't going to, it would cost them more money for it not to happen now than it to actually happen.
Yeah.
Like truly.
And we're not talking down the line, or we don't have a date, in years coming where we're developing.
It's literally 2 years away.
It's 2 years away. We have a date and shit. So it's like,
it starts filming this fall,
right. We have a production schedule, so that's major compared to everything else that we've been talking about. Now the issues I had with it is, can you get any more generic? It feels like, so Lucas wanted to call Skywalker Star Killer. And what can we make it sound something like that? Starfighter. And when I first heard it, I'm like, when I heard that, it's like, oh, is this some kind of reimagining of Rogue Squadron now? Are we doing, I'm thinking Starfighter. I'm thinking a ship.
It's, hey, honestly, it sounds very similar. It sounds very similar to Rogue Squadron, because Rogue Squadron was reportedly set after Rise of Skywalker. We know it was about dogfighting because that's what Patty Jenkins said. It was X-Wings and stuff. This is 5 years after the Rise of Skywalker. This is called Starfighter. What is a Starfighter? It's a ship in Star Wars.
But I don't think it is.
You don't think it is?
Because we know nothing about it. We know nothing about it, right? We just know Sean Levy, Ryan Gosling, Starfighter. That's all we know. And when it's coming out. Okay.
It's 5 years after Rise of Skywalker, and it's a standalone movie with new characters. That's really.
But we don't know anything about plot, anything about who's playing who, what's involved, none of that. Okay. I don't. I think it's a Jedi named fucking Starfighter. I'm gonna be. I think they're that fucking corny. Yes, I think they're that fucking corny. I bet you.
No, he might be the Starfighter.
Mark it down, guys. Mark it down, guys. No, that's too easy. That's too easy.
What's your name?
What?
I'm the best pilot in the galaxy. Starfighter.
No, it's not. It's like Star Lord, right? I'm telling you, I bet you that's his name. His last name is Starfighter.
Please don't do that to me.
I mean, again,
Skywalker, Starfighter.
This is a complete, that's why I prefaced this. That's why I prefaced my whole thing with, what did George Lucas originally want to call Skywalker? It wasn't Skywalker.
Well, I got to give him credit, though. I'm going to be honest. I don't think I dislike the title, Star Wars Starfighter. To me, it rolls off the tongue a lot better than Star Wars, The Mandalorian, and Grogu. Bro.
Depends what the movie's about.
That's true. That's very true. I mean, I got to learn more and everything, but I'll give it credit where credit's due. I think the title fits Star Wars pretty easy. And I got to be honest, man, when I saw the little animation intro thing, I said this in the stream and I said this in my video. I don't know what it is about the way they did it, but I think it's very intentional. Because if you look at the title that they did for The Mandalorian and Grogu, it was like a little animation thing. And it was a very different vibe and a very different style than Starfighter. And those were both very different than what we saw with Taika Waititi's from 2020 when they did that little thing for him and Rogue Squadron. So I think these little standalone things they're intentionally.
The Acolyte one changed 5 times before the show started.
Yeah, I get it. But still, with this stuff, I think because it's different directors, it's a stylistic design. I think with this Starfighter, with the animation, the intro, and the name and everything, it is giving me very deep George Lucas early 2000s Star Wars prequel vibes. And I'm not talking like 2005's Revenge of the Sith. I think people forget that like the Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith, they all have a different kind of style and feel and tone to them on the aesthetic and everything and the design that Lucas did. And Attack of the Clones is a very kind of sci-fi feeling to it, like on Coruscant.
Do we know who's the writer?
Something about this gives me that.
Who the writer for this is?
Jonathan Trooper. He is the one who wrote the Adam Project with Sean Levy. It's on Netflix.
Okay.
I think, does that also star Ryan Gosling? Is that also Ryan Gosling? Or no, that's
no.
What's the other popular white
right?
guy? Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds. That's
the Adam Project is with the kid, the time traveling thing of himself and.
I saw the first 30 minutes of it. It's charming.
I liked it. I liked it for what it was.
So I'm not sold on Sean Levy, really. I'm not sold on Jonathan Trooper. I didn't like Deadpool and Wolverine. I think that's the only movie What other movies has he done? I mean, I'm
You're
not gonna
really,
say some movies he's done, but
and you're really alone on that. A lot of people, people love that fucking movie.
Yeah, I love to member berry everything. Cameo City's amazing. It is a slob fest. I mean, I can't even name you half the damn characters in it, other than the fact that I
But
remember them from other things.
before we go too much on the tangent, my biggest issue with this, other than that, because again, this is all speculation, right? I'm just like guessing what could be this. The biggest issue I have is, and obviously, I'm not sitting here saying I'm excited, can't wait, I want to see the Daisy Ridley movie, but it's like you pushed that movie back, right? First, you said they're the future, right? And then you pushed it back, and then you said, oh, well, we're gonna make movies that they're not the main characters in. They're just like an Obi-Wan kind of thing, right? Because they want to maybe move away from the bad publicity that was the sequel trilogy. And now you're giving us a movie after that trilogy, which is not a problem of itself, but it's immediately, in terms of Star Wars years, 5 years after the sequel trilogy is immediately after. That is, everybody's still very young and in the mix of what they're doing.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
It really depends yet again on what it's about, because if it is truly on its own and these characters have nothing to do with a lot of the stuff that's going on with like Rey, Finn, and Poe, or like the New Republic, or whatever the hell's going to end up
But he's living in a world in the aftermath of what happened.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But
okay, The Mandalorian standalone, right? The Mandalorian was standalone. We until they brought in Luke Skywalker, but it was his own little thing. But it was 5 years after Return of the Jedi, or 9 years after Return of the Jedi, whatever. And it was still very surrounding what was the galaxy like in the Fallout years, the decade following.
In this movie,
Starfighter
will definitely touch on and approach stuff like that when it comes to the state of the galaxy post Rise of Skywalker. But I think now we know that Lucasfilm has this overarching plan, surprisingly, with these films, because that report that we got from last year about the insiders at Lucasfilm and these movies coming out, it's kind of like the idea of, all right, well, we just got to get something out, and what comes first might dictate everything, which kind of is annoying, because they're like, well, Sean Levy says something in his movie, the Simon Kinberg had to follow it in his trilogy, and then the Rey Star Wars movie, and is the Rey Star Wars movie gonna be a prequel to the new trilogy and not episode 10, but also episode 10? It's all very confusing. So I think they understand how confusing that is, and I think for some reason they've now decided that the post-sequel trilogy era is what they should try to explore going forward for the next 10 years. I don't really think it's what I would have done, but I
without
mean, honestly,
those characters.
Rey's clearly coming back in one of them. I mean, she's getting her own movie. We don't. Well,
Are we sure?
They keep working on the script.
Are we sure?
They keep working on the script. They keep, and you know what? That's let's talk about the next segment of all the movies they doubled down on, because that was another big thing that happened this weekend. Is Kathleen Kennedy, through a couple interviews with the press in the back and everything like that, confirmed that there's up to 8 different Star Wars movies in development right now. And Lucas and
but almost all of them are ones we heard at the last celebration. And
not entirely though. Not entirely. I mean, at least officially, one thing they did not mention at all was like Dave Filoni's Mandalorian movie. That was not mentioned by anybody, which was surprising. I don't doubt that it's happening.
Mandalorian Grogu's coming out next year.
I know, but they didn't talk about Dave Filoni's Mandoverse movie. That was announced,
bro.
Was announced before.
This is it. Mando and Grogu is it. Just
no. He was the second unit director on this one. He's supposed to be directing his own Mandoverse movie to tie in everything.
Okay, and this was the training wheels for that one.
No, absolutely. He is being mentored by Jon Favreau on how to direct live action, and then Dave Filoni's mentoring Jon Favreau on Star Wars lore and stuff like that. But Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy did say that the current films allegedly in development are James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi, which was announced in 2023 at the big celebration they did where they announced 3 films. So that one's still happening. That's one. Sharmita Bechinoi's Rey movie, which has had multiple writers, also announced in 2023 at the celebration convention. Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie, announced at the Disney Investors Day back in 2020. That's 5 years now. So that's 3 movies that right there. Then we have the Simon Kinberg trilogy. That Kathleen Kennedy confirmed that in the recent interview, but now doubled down on that in Star Wars Celebration. Like, that's a big one. So that's 3 movies from Simon Kinberg that he's writing, no director attached, and we don't know what it's about. That's Taika Waititi Star Wars movie. That's 4. Ray's movie with Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy directing. That's 5. James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi. That's 6. With the Jon Favreau Mandalorian and Grogu movie coming out next year. That's 7. And now Star Wars Starfighter. That is 8. That comes out in 2027.
And the one that Exalt brought up earlier, and he's bringing it up again, it was still just like, Jesus fuck, bring back Rian Johnson already.
and so yes, that's another thing. We still have had no mention. Like I said, they didn't mention Dave Filoni's Mandalorian movie, which is whatever. The Lando movie was not touched upon. Rogue Squadron by Patty Jenkins is just, I mean, no one's even going to talk about that anymore. Or Rian Johnson's long-awaited trilogy. Me and Lunga had said for years now, if Kathleen Kennedy's still at Lucasfilm, that trilogy's still happening. And I'm sticking by it.
No. Hold on. You're the one that's convinced it's still happening. I said, my words, as long as Kathleen Kennedy's president, it'll never go away.
Okay, yes, that's fair. But, I think it's still around. It's just a scheduling issue,
It'll still be sitting there on the shelf. It'll still stay there on the shelf. It's like that broken thing that people don't want to throw away because they loved it so much, so they keep it on the shelf. And someone finally, after 20 years, is like, would you get rid of that already?
It's Dad's project. It's the project that Dad's been working on forever. You never finished the treehouse from when I was 8. I'll finish it. Damn it! Yeah. Shut the fuck up.
That 72 Camaro that he's been rehabbing for 20 years that's been sitting in the garage and nothing's happened to it.
You don't know how hard it is to build a carburetor these days. They don't make them anymore. God. But yeah, no, they have doubled down on a lot of these movies, and it's a little odd. I do want to ask you. The Mandalorian and Grogu comes out in May of 2026, May 22nd, 2026. Star Wars Starfighter comes out in May 28th, 2027. What do you think about this May release? The smart thing they're doing with the 2027 one is that it's the 50-year anniversary of Star Wars A New Hope. Me and Lunga both remember seeing that in theaters back in the day. And it's kind of crazy thinking that it's been 50 years. But do you think they're going to stick to this May month release? Like, do you like the idea of these releasing in May again? The last one we had was Solo: A Star Wars Story. The one before that was all the other 6 movies by George Lucas. We have the Phantom Menace, not the Phantom Menace, Revenge of the Sith 20 years ago now, releasing in May.
Yeah. I mean, it's a nostalgia thing, right? It revolves around the month of May, which is, a Star Wars month. You know what I mean? With the May the 4th and all this other
George
shit.
Lucas were born that month too. No correlation.
My stepson's birthday actually is May the 4th.
That's
so he's
look at God, Lunga. That's all.
Yeah, but he doesn't give a shit about Star Wars at all. He
doesn't
give a fuck.
Damn it.
Doesn't care at all. Like, believe it or not, his favorite thing is fucking Godzilla of all things. That's what he really loves. But yeah, so I mean, that's cool. It's, correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as Hollywood's considered, May is a good month for releases, but it's not I mean, I think it's the early opening of the summer movies, right? Usually end of May.
The beginning of the summer, the end of May, summer blockbuster kind of month.
Yeah. So if you're doing it near the end of May, you're opening up the summer blockbuster season. So that's good. Because for a while they were like seeming to be wanting to do this December shit all the time.
Well, that wasn't the plan either, mind you.
It's because of the delays.
Yeah, they delayed all the original episodes 7, 8, and 9 release dates were all in May. They were always going to be May, but they delayed it to December, which Disney didn't like because it took it out of the fiscal year. So like 2015 being in December, that takes it into the
for money wise. But December, but the holiday season is also a very good month for movies too.
And for Star Wars, it seemingly did very well to have it in December. That, I mean, honestly, we have a new generation of Star Wars fans who are used to a December release date. It being in May, some people feel like it takes away from the event of it now because we're just so used to it in December. You have all the way from January to December to be hyped for the movie. There's something to it,
right?
But do you think they'll go back to December, or do you think May is just going to be the new thing?
They're just going to be May. It's going to be May. They're not going back.
You don't think it's going back to December? I think for like the episodic, maybe like the Kinberg trilogy, I think they might go back to December.
I mean, they'll go back to December if there's a year they put out 2 movies. That's what I think.
I don't want two movies. That's a thing
Well,
Goldman brought up the other night.
yeah,
I
but
thought
if
about. I was like,
if it's a standalone thing, you know what I mean, like the Kinberg movie, or even Sean Levy's, even Starfighter, it's a standalone movie, right? And I mean, nothing's coming out that year other than that, as far as we know. But if you have if it's two standalone movies, you know what I mean, that are filmed separately, produced separately, there's nothing wrong with that because neither of them are interfering with each other, right? One's one's not dependent on the other.
I think you got to keep Star Wars special in every movie as an event. I think it's easier to do that when you have one a year and not two a year. I mean, like especially with like the Last Jedi.
But the MCU did it. The MCU did it just fine.
Can't. But the MCU, those movies, some of them feel like events. A lot of them don't anymore. Because they're just there is a difference, and I think Kathleen Kennedy and a lot of people at Lucasfilm are doing their damnedest to try to keep Star Wars in that feeling of, well, this isn't just a movie. This should be a blockbuster event. This should remember every single Star Wars.
If you're doing three or more. If you're doing three or more, then it's a problem. You're flooding it. Okay, that's another story.
For sure.
But if it's two. If one's in May and one's at almost the beginning of the next year and it's in mid to late December, I don't think that's a big deal. They're far enough apart.
I think it could work sometimes, but I think the way Lucasfilm has done things, they have had a tendency to rush stuff and everything. They need a little bit. Doing so many things at once hasn't seemed to be their forte. But yeah, I think I'm okay with the May release. My fear is, and I'm not a big MCU fan, but Avengers Doomsday is going to release the same month as Mandalorian and Grogu, and Secret Wars is releasing the same month as Star Wars Starfighter. Now, they're all about 3 weeks apart, and at least in my mind, that's enough time for, if it was releasing the same weekend, I'd be like, oh, that's definitely cause for concern. Like, Star Wars is going to lose some money, and then, if one releases the week before, whichever one comes after will take away some, but if it's not good, it's not going to be a big deal either way. It really just depends on which movie is better at that point. So I'm kind of curious about them releasing these movies in late May of the same month of Avenger movie. I know Disney's going to love this because basically the entire world is going to go, oh my God, let's go see that Avengers movie. Oh, what's next? Oh my God, there's a Star Wars movie coming out at the end of this month. Let's go back to the theater. It's that Oppenheimer Barbie thing. Like they're going to want to make this a big fucking month, a big event. And I'm down for that. I just know, I'm like an investor for Lucasfilm and Star Wars. All right. I want the best for this brand and this company. All right. I have a vested interest in this, which is why I should be the next Lucasfilm president. But besides that, these movies, every Star Wars movie, it has been stated in Bob Iger's book. It's been stated in the Disney filings, their quotas, what they need to make a money, because we have seen this through history of every single Star Wars film since A New Hope, basically. With Disney Star Wars, you need $1 billion in the box office per film. That is the mark. That is the standard. That is what you need not only to make good money, but clearly to continue a legacy. Rogue One did $1 billion in the box office, and look what we have because of that. 2 seasons of Andor, which is a great show, and that means Rogue One has continued to make Lucasfilm money and everything. Solo hasn't continued anything from that, and it lost money. So we clearly need to make $1 billion.
Is there one homegrown project that's worked?
Truly,
between Rogue
it's
One
worked and it did its job.
Rogue One and Andor, where it's made money and it's also made a good majority of fans go, not bad.
Yeah, no, people are happy that they happened and everything. We might have our misgrievances about Rogue One and like the characters and everything, but like Clone Wars did for the prequels and made it better. Now Andor has done the same thing for Rogue One. So I think releasing these in May, if they hit $1 billion in the box office, that's great, and that shows they're doing something right. The quality of the movies have to be there as well. But I am, with The Mandalorian and Grogu, that one I'm a little concerned about. I think having Ryan Gosling as a lead in Star Wars Starfighter, honestly, I think that does wonders for it in the box office. There's not a lot of big A-list celebrities that people go to see movies for, like Tom Cruise. That Top Gun movie, Maverick. That's a simple, good Hollywood movie with a A-list star.
I gotta tell you, I'm surprised they got Pedro there with Fantastic Four coming out in less than 2 months.
I'm glad he was there. He needs to that they also I think understand and know that because Pedro is such a big star now and is divided with Star Wars and Marvel, they need to have him out there looking in his best and doing any kind of marketing because the Mandalorian
and
Grogu is huge.
The Last of Us just released this week too. So it was like
Yeah,
a lot of Pedro
a
shit
lot of
going on.
attention on him, and he's a big star, and he's a handsome guy, and all the women love him. So they need to have him out there
Daddy.
and everything. But big shout out to our boy Brendan Wayne, who we also know was working on the Mandalorian and Grogu. Did a great episode of the show with us. Maybe we should get him back before the movie comes out next year and everything. But I'm not concerned that the Starfighter movie won't hit $1 billion, but with the Mandalorian and Grogu, having this weekend be a big marketing opportunity for them as a Star Wars movie, it doesn't feel like almost anything really happened. You saw a picture of Rada the Hutt looking buff and everything, stuff on the panel, but other than Sigourney Weaver being there and bringing that kind of marketing presence, are you feeling any momentum for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie right now, or is it just kind of the same that we've been feeling for the past year?
It's just, I mean, it's the same. But I mean, we're still a ways away. You know what I mean?
We're
it's not
a year
like
away, but
it's not like it's coming out this summer. If it was coming out this summer,
and that's the thing, though, is that you don't want to over market it,
right?
You don't want to do a year of marketing.
I'll tell you why it feels weird to you, because we're so used to this shit getting rushed, and this is a movie that's done. Okay.
Well, that's why it feels weird to me, because it's a full year away.
And we're a year away from it releasing. And they have a year to polish it.
Yeah, which
you know what I mean?
I'm a year post-production for a Star Wars movie, especially with ILM right now, is fantastic. That's a good idea. I'm happy that they have so much time to work on it.
And even the fact that they have so much time and they finished it, even if I hear, oh, you know what, they're going back for some reshoots, it wouldn't worry me. Because it's like, what? They had all this time to look at it, that it's easy for someone to, when you have that much time to look at it, to go, you know what? Let's add this. Let's redo this part. You know what I mean? And that's not a big deal. It's a problem when it's like they're doing reshoots and the movie's coming out in 2 months. Then it's like, whoa, what's going on? You know what I mean? That's
like,
where there's problems.
Like the Han Solo movie, where it's like, oh, we have a month left of filming and we just fired the directors. That's an issue. But with this one, it's not that we have a year out and I'm worried because there's not really anything marketing wise. They have been kind of marketing it. My issue is that there's not another Star Wars Celebration that's going to happen before this movie. And normally what they do is for each celebration, it's about a movie normally, and it's meant to, launch the marketing for it and everything. When they did the one in Chicago, that movie came out in December, Rise of Skywalker, and I think the convention was in April again. And that is where we got the launch of like the trailer and everything for the first time. And yeah, that was like 6 to 7 months before. So that was a good start to the marketing. But
I'll tell you what
a lot
the problem
closer.
is. I'll tell you what the problem was with marketing. First of all, we know how horrible they are with marketing. Okay.
I know.
They don't know. They still don't know what they're doing with marketing. To compound that, we've had 3-4 years of movie limbo at the very least. Okay. I mean, it's been longer than that, technically, if you think since Rise of Skywalker.
It's going to be 7 years since we've had a Star Wars movie.
What I'm saying, it's been 3 or 4 years of there should have been those movies that were supposed to be coming out during this time.
We were supposed to get one in 2023, 2025,
Right. So there's 2 or 3 movies that should have been out already that aren't, okay?
Which I think people forget about.
Because those never happened. And all we've had is TV shows. They haven't had a reason to do a celebration, which is why we've had so much time between celebrations, okay? Mm. And I think because it's been so long, they're like, okay, we got to do one. And they didn't want to wait until next year. Okay, because Mando and Grogu would have been out already.
Well, so they could have done it in April with it releasing in May, but then that would have been so close. You can't wait to market it at that point. And it's kind of the feeling we have now with
final
Andor,
trailers are already out at that point. You know what I mean? So it would have been too late to do it last year, even if they did a little bit earlier to do celebration. So they go, we got to do it this year, but we have nothing coming out until next year, basically, except for some show stuff. You know what I mean? So that's why the marketing and the celebration feels kind of empty, because
I think
it is.
At the end of the day, Disney might be the one. I think Disney and someone like Bob Iger if he's smart, might end up kind of taking the reign on that. Because let's be honest, when it comes to Disney Star Wars, what has been the best merchandise seller for them ever? Baby
Well,
fucking Yoda,
Grogu.
Grogu,
Yeah.
Mando, Din Djarin. And I think Disney knows that so well because it's at the theme parks now and everything. You got the life-size Baby Yoda or Grogu.
They had
I'm
him.
not
They
allowed
had
to
him
call
on
him Baby
stage
Yoda.
there talking to Pedro.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big thing now. I think when it comes to the marketing of this movie, maybe not Lucasfilm, but Disney will come down and say, "Hey, look, we do need this movie to make $1 billion in the box office. We make about $1 billion a year from the merchandise from little Grogu alone. Yeah, we're gonna market the shit." Because here's the thing: when you look back at what they did for like the sequel trilogy, what was one of the big events they did? Force Friday. I don't know if you guys remember that shit, but when all those toys were coming out and they had comic books,
Yep.
everything Star Wars, that is the kind of marketing campaign you need again. And even if they
Yeah,
weren't going to release a trailer for it,
by the time you were getting to Rise of Skywalker, nobody gave a fuck about the toys, and that was the problem.
well, that's because it was the
So
Rise of Skywalker, and there was so
yeah,
many. There wasn't a great. It goes into the planning and everything. It goes into the quality. But you got to remember, 2015, 2016. The Last Jedi came out in December of 2017, so you can't say 2017 was a bad year for Star Wars. But so 2017, 2016, 2015, sales for toys and all that stuff and merchandise through the fucking roof, bro. I mean,
hold
it
on,
was a peak
hold
time.
on. There was tons of videos done in the intervening time between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, and just after Rise of Skywalker, to where most of their toy lines, which is
Yes,
Bray
yes, but
and all
but
this
like
stuff,
we're
the
saying after
shelves were just
2017 though.
full. No, even during 2017 and just prior to it, stuff was not moving. They were not even moving toys, and that's why we noticed after that this complete everything went just to Lego because everybody buys Legos. Okay, that the only things they sell is Legos and lightsabers, and those are pretty much at Disney. The only lightsabers that make money are third party manufacturers.
Yeah, no, and I know the industry has taken a hit, but still, I mean, especially after doing a lot of the research on like the toy sales and specifically like the box office stuff for the recent Star Wars films, they did the merchandise and everything for those first couple years. They did very well. It wasn't until The Last Jedi came out, all the stuff with Battlefront 2, 2018, things started taking, yes, a desperate hit. But
That's what I'm
the
saying.
Force Friday stuff and everything, like 2015, 2016, those toy sales
Yeah,
were
those were
solid
fine.
for
I
them.
know, but that's why I said
And even
in that
recently,
lead up,
Disney did a report for
to Rise of
2023, they did
Skywalker,
good.
in the lead up to Rise of Skywalker, during and after, that's when it went flat. But yeah, no,
No,
20, yeah,
absolutely.
during the
But they
Force
got to bring that
Awakens
back.
and the lead up
They got to
to
redeem
Last Jedi.
themselves. I think they got to do with the Force Awakens. What works so well is that there were so many toys for it and everything, and like the BB-8 thing was very very cool. But they also had these tie-in comic books. It was called like a Journey to the Force Awakens and like little small books and stuff like that for the diehard fans. When you get the diehard fans invested and everything, that's how you get more casual
Yeah,
audiences.
and that's why you make the changes you do.
Thing.
It's all for toys. That's why the Millennium Falcon was a little bit different. That's why it changed over the years because why? New toy. The stormtroopers, they the First Order ones, they look different. So there's new designs, so new toys.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So
Phasma and everything.
right.
Like some of these people,
which everyone was one of the most hottest toys. I remember was Phasma, and then when the movies were like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and then nobody bought Phasma character, and like honestly, even it goes back to like look at the Phantom Menace. Before the Phantom Menace came out, everyone bought little Anakin. After the Phantom Menace came out, you could
Fuck
not
that
get
shit.
rid of little Anakin, And that's the thing, Rose Tico, the people were like, oh, the 2018. Well, one of the main characters is Rose Tico, who a lot of people just simply did not like. So why would her action figure sale? That's the thing with these movies and this franchise, is people have to like this stuff to buy it. That's the big thing. And so that's why I think
the only ones that were sellers was Kylo Ren. That's the one that was, I think, consistently selling was Kylo Ren.
And people didn't like him after the Last Jedi, after the Force Awakens. It wasn't until the Last Jedi that a lot of the momentum really shifted into his direction, and people were like, "No, he's a great character," and he still sold great.
Because we saw it because it was the one thing they did right. There was some growth with his character, even if we don't agree with the storyline. The character did have an arc. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely, absolutely.
And Adam Driver
was engaging.
And Adam Driver, being the actor he is, knew how to go through those emotional changes and shifts of this character arc, how this character changed from the 3 movies. So it worked with him, but everything around it sucked. So
All right, well let's move on to a little bit more of what Kathleen Kennedy said, because
Miss Kathleen Kennedy,
damn stuff. She did talk about the whole, what was it, the Taika Waititi stuff. This is coming from Screen Rant. So what they do is they have press and everything. When you get media pass and everything, you go behind the stage sometimes and you get to interview a lot of the people. And Kathleen Kennedy spoke to Screen Rant's own Ash Croshan, and she inquired about the status of the Taika Waititi Star Wars movie. And Waititi has been attached to a direct Star Wars movie since like 5 years now, the 2020 when they did the Disney investors meeting. Kathy said, though, that she remains confident that the film is going to happen. She said, and I quote, "Taika is on Taika's time. I've just continually said to him, look, when you feel that you're ready and you can really devote the time, we're going to do it. We'll be waiting. I'm just hoping we get there. That will be a great Star Wars movie." The article says that these comments prove that the delay in Taika Waititi's Star Wars film were not driven by Lucasfilm or developmental issues, but instead a case of waiting for the filmmaker to finish what he has planned. Kennedy insisted that the movie will be waiting for him, also commenting that the screenwriter Tony Namara of Poor Things, I've never heard of it.
Tony McNuggets.
Sure. I don't know who that is, but Tony is writing the script and also working with Waititi. Kennedy wrapped up by stating that Taika Waititi has such a unique way of telling stories, sharing her desire that they can get through development and tell a great Star Wars story. So it seems like she's waiting for him to turn in a script. And what we've heard from over the years is that they have the opening to it. They have about what I would call like the first 30 minutes of The Force Awakens, and then they have the finale of it as well. They have the third act. But the second part, the middle stuff, they apparently don't have at the moment, fleshed out or anything. So it's curious that we're getting a second screenwriter in this Tony guy, and hopefully they'll have something turned in the next couple of years so we can even figure out if this is really going to happen. I'm just confused by her commitment to Taika, because after
she really likes him and she wants him.
Yeah. A lot of, and we've seen that with Lucasfilm. They get the up and coming directors and stuff like that, but then if they do a bad movie, they suddenly disappear.
Yes, did Thor: Love and Thunder hurt him? Sure, but it wasn't. Taika's still Taika. He's still sought after in Hollywood. You know what absolutely. I mean? Even with that, so like it's not like he was. It's not like he did a movie that stunk and people like he lost his luster. That's not what happened. He's still highly sought after. Right. But and even that's weird, because M. Night Shyamalan kind of did his own thing, right? He was, it was his movies. You know what I mean?
Always. Yeah.
So it wasn't like he was doing IP movies or stuff like that. It was his movies. Kind of how Rian Johnson is. Yeah. But for the most part, they're his movies, just like Christopher Nolan's. Those are his movies, and you know what I mean.
Okay,
other than the Batman, you know what I mean.
It's their style.
And Rian Johnson, after the Star Wars, he Knives Out. Those are his movies, his things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but he didn't really lose his luster in Hollywood. People weren't they didn't go dark on him. You know what I mean? And it's been long enough now after that he's still sought after enough to where his name will still bring in people. So she likes him and she wants him to write it. And to be honest with you, considering that there really hasn't been a script and there hasn't been a movie, it was just like, oh, we're going to get a Taika movie, and that's all we got. You know what I mean? We didn't know anything about it. So the fact that it's been this long, and the fact that he hasn't really been actively working on it, getting a new person in to look at the script or change it around, that doesn't seem like a big deal, because there hasn't actually been a script. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, he's clearly turned stuff in. It's just that
outlines, ideas.
They have it's how George Lucas did Attack of the Clones. It's like, I know how it starts and I know how it ends, and I just need to get the middle part figured out and everything. That's what he has, apparently.
Yeah, it's not like how he did Outlaws. I know it's a tangent, but that whole interview with that guy with the thing with the Outlaw show, they literally wrote up like 2 seasons worth of shows or something, like something like 40 scripts for not Outlaws, Underworld. His Underworld show.
They had a lot of scripts for that.
And he was George, before he sold Disney, he was basically going to say, all right, here it is. If you want it, you can have it, but it's going to be, this is what it is. This is how it's going to be. It's not going to change. If you want to buy it, buy it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't think it's going to be a big issue. I just don't trust Taika for it. Period. Yeah, no matter what. That's the problem.
Yeah, I'm not sure how committed I am to wanting this film. But Kathleen, damn. She also gave a little bit of comments on her stepping down. They've had reports
The
claiming that she'll be
rumors
stepping down
of
at the
my
end of this year and
demise have
everything.
been greatly exaggerated.
Well, she exactly pretty much said that to the Screen Rant reporter. She said, "I'm not retired. I'm not going anywhere." I like that one a little more. I like that. I like a little fight. I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. I would have loved to have been in the interview, like in the room for when this, because I know how this is. She's like, "Kathy, what about the reports claiming that you're going to be stepping down from Lucasfilm?" And it says the veteran producer has now addressed, "I'm not retired. I'm not going anywhere." Screen Rant's own Ash Croshan followed with the question on the balance between internal discussions within the studio and what fans are told, talking about what we hear and what's actually happening in reality over
If
there.
I die during a production of the movie, my funeral will be on hold. My corpse will be on display in the theater for the premiere, and only then can I be buried.
Damn it! And you never show George's early cuts ever. I forbade it. Clearly, as far as Kennedy is concerned, the rumors about her retirement remain entirely that for now, rumors. Here is the thing with my favorite Lucasfilm president, Kathleen Kennedy. They said in that article that they were setting up an exit interview for Kathleen Kennedy about if she does retire, she would be doing an exit interview with a reliable reporter and everything. I'm happy to announce that that's me. I will be doing the exit interview with Kathleen Kennedy. It will be a tell-all interview. We will both smoke a pack of Newport cigarettes throughout the entire thing. It's going to be about 6 hours long.
I have to pull out the Jonathan Frakes meme. That is a lie. That is a falsehood. Fabrication, not real, untrue.
I like to use alternative facts, is what I would call them. Yeah, no, I would. First of all, I would kill to interview Kathy for anything, but definitely her exit interview if she does exit. But here's the thing with her. I always bring up the Kevin Feige thing. Alan Horn, who was Kathleen Kennedy's boss at the time that he was at Disney before Bob Iger retired and then came back. Alan Horn specifically said in the Hollywood Reporter interview that Kevin Feige would be doing a Star Wars movie. It would take us into a new era. He would be working with Kathleen Kennedy. Kevin Feige commented on it a little vaguely, but did comment in a way that it confirmed the reality of it. The writer of the movie commented on it, and Kathleen Kennedy openly said that that was never going to happen. That was something reported in the trades. Now, she has not only replied to the initial report of her retirement, which we get every couple years about, well, she might retire, but the person who reported on her retirement is the one who reported years ago that she renewed her contract, has been very reliable in the industry. And it was such a reliable report that the Hollywood Reporter and Variety and Deadline kind of corroborated it about the talks of Kathy leaving and about who could possibly replace her. Like, there was a lot of evidence towards the idea that she was setting that up,
Oh, hold on.
And so now in that interview, she said, it could be, we'll have something for you in a year or something like that. But now she's saying that she's not going anywhere. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
It's confusing.
Again, it's because it's bluster, meaning I'm not going anywhere now. It's double speak. Okay.
Yeah, but she just said that she always tells the fans the truth. I'll take her at her word. She's going to try to be honest with this.
Okay. Have you paid it? I know a lot of people aren't happy with the Wheel of Time TV show, but do you know anything about the Wheel of Time and the Aes Sedai and how they are? They can't lie, right?
I just know about the wheel in the sky and it keeps on turning.
But okay, but they can't lie. That's the thing about the Aes Sedai. They cannot lie, right? But they know how to creatively answer a question that misleads, but
what
they
I told
are not
you
lying.
Was true from a certain point of view.
Exactly.
Okay. So that's what Kathy is doing.
There was no lie. Listen, it all boils down to what I said from the get-go. She's not going to go. She's going to go out on her own terms, not because other people are saying she's going out.
And we've said that for years. And me and you have said that we firmly believe that the Indiana Jones movie would have been that last thing, that last hoorah. But because it wasn't
so
financial success,
right?
Yeah, I think she can't. And
she
here's another thing
high.
too. Here's another thing that we've talked about on the show, I think, when she talked about retiring, is that there is so much going on over there at Lucasfilm. We just said that she confirmed 8 different Star Wars movies in development. It would be an awful time, in my opinion, to leave Lucasfilm and have someone take the reins over. And then, because then all they would have to do is just finish what she started. But would they want to finish it? Are they going to like? There's so many different things.
Hold on now. Here's the thing. It's if you look at it from the standpoint of an executive, if the movies are there and the plans are in place, an executive coming in, unless they want to say I have a whole new idea, I want to change things. It's not like a director or a writer leaving when movies are in the middle of production. Okay, it's not the same thing. An executive can step out, another one can come in. That's not gonna change things too dramatically, especially if it's a hand-picked choice, an understudy. You know what I'm saying?
I see that, but I'm saying some of the stuff is so far down the line, like the Rian Johnson trilogy.
She does not want to leave if the impression is she's leaving because they need a change of leadership. She doesn't want to leave with the impression of, you fucked up Star Wars, we need someone else to take over. She wants to leave of, oh, you know what? I think it's time to spend time with my family. I'm older. Not because
no, she wants an
I
Oscar.
have to.
That's what she wants. No,
she's not going to get that.
An Oscar.
She's not going to get an Oscar. Star Wars is never getting an Oscar.
No, but that's why she won't. That's why she will leave Lucasfilm to go do something else. Lincoln was supposed to get her an Oscar.
Gotcha.
She wants an
Oscar.
Oscar.
Okay.
That is her thing. I know Kathy after all this stuff.
Well, then you bitch. You need to move on. Okay, if you want an Oscar, you need to move on. Work with highfalutin directors on these passion projects that make these the Adrian Brody's bullshit and the Christopher Nolan's and the people that make these fucking Oppenheimer type films, not fucking Star Wars.
But
Space
here's the
Wizards.
thing. Here's the thing though, is A, I think it's a bad time to leave. B, it's going to be hard as hell to find anybody that we're all going to agree is going to be a good pick. And C,
they don't care what we think.
They keep saying they do.
Someone that no. Hold on.
Lunga, don't you see all the Swagman people on Twitter that get invited to all these things, and they even get to meet the Swagman person, and Swagman's their best friend.
And the Swagman people, in their mind, want the Kathleen Kennedy pick.
Yeah.
Okay. They want the Kathleen. Oh, if it's someone who Kathleen Kennedy picks, we're in good hands.
I want Carrie Hart.
Because if they pick someone that Kathleen Kennedy picks, we're gonna keep getting our shit.
Yeah. Oh God, good old Kathleen Kennedy. Okay, so thumbs up, thumbs down. Kathleen Kennedy is Lucasfilm president in exactly 1 year from today.
Oh yeah, she'll still be 1 year from today.
Okay, hey,
she's not going to leave before the next Star Wars. I mean,
that's what the reports were saying.
That's bullshit. Me. There was no exact timetable. There was no exact timetable. Okay. Remember her thing. She's like, "Oh, we're talking about an exit strategy." Okay.
Yes.
Which
and she said we would.
Which could be a 2-year plan,
we may have something in a few months
plan,
or up to a year.
Of what the plan is, but that doesn't mean that's going to happen in that time frame. It means in 3 months to a year, we'll let you know when I'm leaving, which could be 2 years from now, 3 years from now. You get what I'm saying? So,
all right. No, I'm with you though. I think a year from now, we still got Kathy Kennedy as president.
Yeah.
After seeing this stuff over the weekend though, especially as someone who watched the stream, are you feeling a Dave Filoni pick? Are you feeling a Dave Filoni presidency? Huh? Some people were upset that Jon Favreau called him mentor. It kind of seemed like Dave Filoni's. Someone even teased Filoni about being the new boss over there at one of the interviews. I can't remember who it was.
I don't think so. He's not an exec. He's not a studio executive. He never really has been.
I don't see it. I don't see it. Other people are suggesting Carrie.
He's
Beck.
not. To be fair, he's not even a producer. In the veins of Kathleen Kennedy, how she was a producer.
Yeah, there's a different level to it. She's
producing an animated show for 5 years is not the same thing as being a producer. You know what I mean? It's not.
Especially when you're already at the company and everything like that. Kathleen Kennedy runs the company. It's very that's why her getting a successor is going to be such a big
It's going to
deal
be a
in my
suit.
mind.
It's going to be a suit.
I think it has to be a suit. I think it
And
really has to be
the
a
only
solid
the only
suit.
exception is Favreau, because Favreau is a creative suit.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. He knows
that's why he's the only.
It's so funny people call Dave Filoni Lucas, where it's like I really think Favreau fits that so much better, because both Favreau and Lucas have the ability to be business minded and business savvy, but yet are not fans of it at all. That is the whole reason you got the first Lucasfilm president, Charles
We
Weber,
have
and
the
one after that, Gordon
MCU
Radley.
because of Jon Favreau.
Yes.
He fought for the Iron Man movie. They didn't want to make it.
He knows how that stuff works. He knows how that stuff works. What do we have next on the topic agenda? Do you know?
It was Kenobi. Maul.
No, it's called Maul.
I know,
Shadow
but
Lord.
the only way it can sound like Maul is when he says Kenobi. That's the
He starts yelling and shit. Oh god,
Kenobi!
Good old fucking Sam. I should have seen this coming a mile away. I was predicting we were going to see a High Republic animated show, but no, we are getting a Darth
Can we
Maul
appreciate
show,
one thing? Not to downplay Sam Witwer's contribution to Star Wars, because it's immense. Okay, but
it's the same fucking jacket, huh? You gonna say that?
But if it wasn't for the public display of lightsaber polish, we could be doing something completely different than Sam Witwer being the end all be all of Maul.
Yeah. And you know, to give you a little of that exclusive insight, because this is one of the few things I am extremely privy to on what happened, and I'll give you a little scoop on the Chatooine Show of what happened here. Back in, I think it was 2020, 2021, I was told by a good source close to the situation that
we were watching this in real time. All of us, we were all streaming, talking. We were watching it in real time when the show was happening.
This was so crazy. This was all so crazy happening. So Darth Maul was supposed to come back and do a live-action Star Wars series. They wanted Emilia Clarke to come back and play and reprise the role of Kira in it. And it was going to be kind of like a Crimson Dawn thing and everything. But Maul was going to be like one of the main leads of that series, and Ray Park was getting ready for it and everything. They were in development of the script and everything, working on concept art. And then it was corroborated after my report a couple months later by Star Wars Direct, I believe, or LRM Online. LRM Online corroborated it with me, but Star Wars Direct did like an article about the show. 24 hours after that, Ray Park,
like immediately,
like the day of, I was so happy. I was like, "Yo, I was right. I knew it."
We're getting ready to talk about this and go all full force with it.
And then I open my Instagram account and I see Ray Park polishing his lightsaber.
Losing his mind.
And everyone in the Instagram influencer Star Wars world was messaging me, and we were texting each other like, "Yo, did you see that shit with Ray? Yo, he's losing his mind again." And I don't want to disparage the guy or anything like that, but he's had some reports in the past that were kind of swept under the rug. And Lucasfilm, what had happened is they had this deal with him where they were like, "Yo, brother, you gotta stop. You gotta calm the fuck down, man." Like, "Yo, calm down, brother." And he didn't, clearly. And so after that debacle, he's gone. He's gone. You notice how you've never seen him at a celebration ever again?
Yeah, we had his wife putting out Instagram messages. His daughter supposedly
I
put out.
I talked to his wife personally. I talked to almost every single person involved with that situation. Almost every, even. I couldn't say that, but I talked to.
And it was basically a jealousy thing.
I know what happened.
It was a jealousy thing.
I know the personal nitty gritty toxic details of it, but that's not relevant. I'm interested in the business side of it, and the business side of it was Lucasfilm was like, "Look, you got to stop because we got this coming out," and then he didn't. That happened. So what they did is all that concept and all those stories that were going to be in live action were clearly adapted into this animated series, and that's why now we have Maul Shadow Lord.
The very next call after that was, "Hey Sam, are you busy?"
Yeah, no, I mean, literally immediately. And you know what's so beautiful, Lunga, about life and everything about and honestly having the comfort of knowing what actually happened. People accused me so much back when this was happening, on like other channels and streams and stuff like that. People in the comments were like, "Oh, you're just going after him. Ray Park was hacked. All this stuff." He is not at Celebration. Sam Witwer has taken over this thing. Like it. If you, this is one of the, and we talked about it at the time where like people
And
were like, oh, this, that, and the other. It was like people were
yeah,
kind of being sexist about the whole situation, where they're like, oh,
yep.
his wife and all that shit, and calling her a
Oh,
cheater
she's a
and
cheating
everything.
hoe and this and that, and but yeah,
It was fucked. I mean, and that's what's crazy too is that people would be like, oh, he didn't post that, or he got hacked. It's like, or he
yeah.
posted on
But
an
this was
accident. It's like,
also
what?
that was also in the midst of the whole Johnny Depp thing. So everybody was like
That's very
really
true.
quick
That's
to
very
like
true.
say, oh, all these bitches out here are treacherous, you know.
God damn it.
So it was, you know, it was all in the
Respect
middle of
all
that.
women.
And
All
I gotta
women
say
are
this,
queens.
while I appreciate the tremendous skill that Ray Park has as an acrobat and a trained martial artist, and what he did as Maul in the prequels. He's also a lot older now, and I know he can still do his. We still see him doing flips and this and that. And
Yeah, no,
okay,
he's very
I'm
talented.
pretty okay. Listen, Sam Witwer, put him in some makeup, he could play Maul.
Yeah, I
you
mean,
you just have a Brendan Wayne kind of person do his stunts,
yeah, absolutely.
and
Maybe even Brendan Wayne himself.
yeah, there you go.
If he's down.
I don't think was Brendan trained in martial arts? I don't think he was. Was he?
No, he did boxing,
Yeah,
so that
right.
wouldn't translate to anything
You'd have to
Maul
have a
does.
martial artist.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sam Witwer, you put him into makeup. Maybe he doesn't have to put on a ton because Maul was always kind of lean. He wasn't like super bulked.
He's got the
But
fit for it. I
put
think.
on just a little bit of muscle, and put the makeup on him. He could play a lot of action, Maul.
And I think he'd love to do it too. I mean, he clearly
Yeah.
has a passion for that character. That's his. That's it. Now he will be Maul going forward. Bye bye Ray Parku. Unfortunately,
And to be fair, in most people nowadays, people, especially people who
yeah,
the
people are gonna
prequel
say Darth
generation,
Maul
and everyone who
is Sam
grew
Witwer.
up with all these stuff, it's Sam Witwer. It's just like how
Yeah.
so many people, when they think Batman, they think of, oh my god, why is his name escaping me?
I
Conroy.
don't think of Kilmer.
Dave Conroy. They think of the voice actor from the animated series that he is their Batman more than Michael Keaton or Christian Bale or how much screen time did Maul have in the prequels?
Yeah, I mean, he was a big deal for fans.
It was a few minutes, And how many lines did he have? Like 3?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Last we reveal ourselves to the Jedi. Last we shall have
Right.
revenge. Ah!
So everything of Maul as a character, of everything he has become, is all Sam Witwer.
Well, and I honestly think with this animated show, it's a fitting, hopefully, end.
Yeah,
And it's
Kevin
a fitting
Conroy, thank
thing
you.
to do.
Grievous.
Yeah, Kevin Conroy, that's his name. It's a fitting thing to have Maul have his own animated series and everything. But my question is, do you think this is going to be 2 to 3 seasons? Should it be 2 to 3 seasons? This should be a series, in my opinion.
100%.
They got Darth Talon coming in. This actually seems like a great
Hold
Star
on.
Wars animated series.
It's a rumor. We don't know if it's Darth Talon, but come on.
Well, we saw. I mean, I saw the video
It's
and the
Darth
trailer
Talon.
of it and everything. It's heavily inspired at Darth
Yeah.
Talon. At least he is training a red
Twi'lek, yeah.
Twi'lek, yes, female Twi'lek, red female
Yeah.
Twi'lek, not Darth Talon though. Allegedly, at the moment,
Right.
But I think this is
Allegedly.
cool because this turns 2026 into a very interesting Star Wars year because you get a Mandalorian and Grogu movie, you get a Star Wars animated series with Darth Maul. Ahsoka season 2 starts filming in like a week. So that means it should be coming out in
images. We got
2026.
images of him of what's his face
Roy
as
McCain playing
yeah.
Balin Skull. He looked
Doesn't
very
look
good.
that
I
bad.
think. No,
Doesn't look that
I
bad.
think they're naturally different looking people, but I think he's going to do
Right.
great by the role. Honestly, and Ahsoka season 2 looks solid. It seems like we have some cool stuff coming in the future. Did you like the Maul animated show idea? Like, are you happy that that's going to be the next animated
I
series?
like it. Now I know our buddies like Papa Memes and stuff would be like, really? We're going back again to to this shit.
And I understand that.
I do understand that, but of all the characters that have captured, like the only side characters other than your Han, Luke, Leia's, your main cast, and stuff like that, and Kenobi and stuff like that. Next to Boba Fett, he is the guy. You know what I mean? So,
especially from that prequel era. I mean, honestly,
yeah,
I wouldn't even mind if they did.
He is the Boba Fett of the prequel era.
Yeah, it's cool to have these villains fleshed out. And honestly, they did not cover his crime syndicate stuff. And
right,
I think,
and that's really cool.
I think it's fascinating. It's what makes him, in my opinion, a better Sith Lord than what most people would give him credit for. Because that's what a big part of being a Sith is, not just the fighting abilities and everything like that and the power, because he's never going to be able to beat a Count Dooku or a Darth Sidious or anything like that. But him being able to manipulate the crime world is what makes him a good Sith.
But, and it was him using, let's be fair, he used that because of we always know of the eternal struggle between the light side and the dark side, the Sith and the Jedi, and he's this guy in the middle who's a dark side user, okay, who hates the Sith as much as he hates the Jedi because of what Palpatine did to him and what Kenobi did to him, and he hates them, and he wanted revenge against both. You know what I mean? That's
he wanted smoke with one of the most powerful Jedi ever and the most powerful Sith of all time. Like, this guy had balls. Cannot take that away from him.
And that whole thing with the whole Empire, that with him being a underworld boss, or everything, that was all a method for him to get his revenge. Couldn't do it on Palpatine because he wanted to get to Palpatine. I don't know if he ever could. Yeah, but it was all about trying to get to both of them. It was all about trying to get his revenge on Kenobi and Palpatine.
Yeah, my thing with this show that makes it a little sometimes is always the overlapping stuff with like Rebels and sometimes Clone Wars, where it becomes too much of a member fest. They got Merrick in this. I don't know if you saw that, but at the end he's fighting Merrick. So yeah, another Inquisitor.
He's a fucking ghost. Who cares?
Well, maybe this is how he became a ghost. He kills him for the first time, and then years later
we saw Merrick. Who is this guy? Stab him, turns to green mist. That's it.
It's another goddamn.
And then we
Inquisitor.
learned later that he was one of the Inquisitors, he was who died and was kept alive by Morgan Elsbeth as this.
Yeah, the little Dathomir witch stuff. Maybe we'll get a little bit of maybe he'll interact with Morgan Elsbeth. That'd be a cool little interaction. I think this is around that time that would kind of be starting.
I mean, her episode in Tales of the
Empire.
Empire was one of the better ones. So
yeah, I liked her arc. I liked it. Oh, and Tales of the Underworld. You saw the trailer for that? What'd you think about that?
That I did not see. I did not see a trailer for that yet.
No, it's like Cad Bane and Ventress.
Oh, yeah, I take it back. I did see that. Yes.
Yeah.
I did see that. Again, could be interesting. I just didn't like. I'm still, and he's probably not dead, but I didn't like the fact that they brought him back just to kill him.
Boba?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Dumb. It's like you brought him back just to kill him. It's like people have been waiting to see Cad Bane, and we see him on the screen for a little bit, and then you kill him. But I don't think he's dead.
He looked kind of corny in that one. He doesn't look so corny in this. I like the design, even without the tube on the side of his face.
And I do like this era of Ventress. I like the hair era.
I want her to die though, bro. I mean, like it's ridiculous that they killed her off.
You look at her like you look at Ahsoka. You want them just both dead.
Well, I want everybody dead. All right, all the Force users. I just want Luke. He's the last Jedi. I want that to be true. She's training this Padawan who also needs to die before the events of A New Hope. And Ventress, it's annoying because she was killed off in Dark Disciple, comes back in the Bad Batch. Lucasfilm has to come out and publicly say, don't worry, we have an explanation on why she survived. It won't be anything that contradicts Star Wars canon. And then you watch Bad Batch, there's not a single fucking explanation for anything that's going on. And then she gets a Tales of the Underworld episode, and it's like, okay, that's cool, I guess. We'll see what happens in it, but like...
Well, at least, I mean, the Tales of the Underworld is supposed to be when she is alive, canonically.
Yeah, no, but it needs to tell me how she came back to life after Dark Disciple. That's what I need to know. All right.
Well, maybe the events of Dark Disciple will be in this.
I would not mind, but we, definitely have to be a different time. We'll have to see. But I'm not
Well,
really worried about the
they do
Tales thing.
time.
They do it for
Remember, they
everybody
do
for
in
it.
these Tales thing. They do time skips. Remember how they did Morgan Nesmith?
Yeah, no, they
There
do.
was
Yeah.
they
Every
did these big
episode is
time
like its own
skips,
different like story,
right?
basically. It's
And they
they're all
go
anthology
and it
stuff.
jumps in time
Yeah.
to their
So you're
history.
right. We
So
could see that. I mean, we'll see what happens with it. I'm not like super hyped for Tales of the Underworld, but I do like that they are doing this every May the 4th. And I think they're interesting in because they're focusing
yeah,
on certain characters. It's good to get some closure with Ventress and Cad Bane. We're coming to this end of the Clone Wars
the
era. I think we need
visions,
to wrap it up.
the vision stuff is this thing I didn't see. What they're doing with visions.
Oh yeah, I'm not. I don't. Yeah, I'm good on Visions. Cute little thing.
But there was one last thing that you wanted to discuss. Those the show that's starting next week.
Oh,
Andor season 2.
Season 2. I almost forgot all about that, and that's coming up literally in a couple days. I am extremely excited for this. All the reports from people who have watched it said that it is better than season 1. I really like the Cyril and Deidre little romance that they're teasing. I'm super excited for that. I felt that tension. That feels genuine. Also, after having watched the convention this weekend and seeing her on stream, I have fully committed to my simp life for the lady who plays Bix, Adira.
Yeah.
What I can't remember her name, her last name. She's dating Jason
I don't remember her
Momoa.
name, but yeah.
That sick bastard. How dare he?
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, no, I saw her and I was like, okay, yep, I'm in love. Bix is my queen forever. And I will bend the knee and swear allegiance to the Queen of the Andals and the First Men, Roinar and the Andor. I am excited for season 2. I mean, the thing with it, we have so much marketing already for season 2. It's only a couple days away. There's only so much they can really show us and do for Andor at Celebration. You're hyped for it? Because I'm hyped for it.
Yeah.
I do want to ask, what do you think about them releasing 3 episodes every week for this?
Well, isn't that how they did it last time?
I thought that's how they did it 3 at the first, and then after that, they went on for like 12 weeks. They did 3 episodes on the premiere, and then 1 week.
Okay, it was 3 for the premiere, and then it was
an episode a week.
Again, I hear someone told me there's no time skips, and I go, that doesn't make any sense because I believe they were doing those skips. 3.
Every
that
3
the whole
years
point
is a year.
Yeah, that these 3 episodes, these 3 episode arcs are supposed to be time skips between each arc. But I'm okay with that. Now, I say I'm okay with that because streaming's fucking streaming. Okay. Yeah. And to be honest with you, there is a convenience factor of being able to watch a lot of stuff at once. Okay.
Yeah.
But as a consumer, someone who grew up in the 80s, someone who watches things, I got to tell you, and even when the way Game of Thrones was when it first came out, there was something about must-see TV every week. Okay,
and I think they should try to keep that going. And
that was an event that lasted over 2 months, at least.
Yes.
Okay, that you can have that 2 or 3 months of must-see TV. It keeps people talking. What's happened next week? What's going to happen next week? What's going to happen next week?
And they can do that today. They have done
what they did with The Walking Dead. What they did with Breaking Bad. What they did. The must-see TV. Each week you said, "Oh, what's next episode? Can't wait." And if you have that, as much as it sucks with streaming having these 1-2 year breaks between seasons, at least give us that. At least it's like, oh, you dump it all at once. We get 1 week of show, and then now we got to wait 2 years.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
It's too long. Like Ahsoka season 2, or even Andor season 2. Andor season 2 came out Andor season 1 came out in 2022, I think. Maybe 2022 to 2023, and then Ahsoka season 1 came out in the end of 2023. We're not getting either of those until like 2 to 3 years after the fact, and that's happened with Mandalorian as well in a way. I think if they did a Star Wars show and they did it every year and had it releasing for 12 weeks out of the year, especially with people like us who would cover
make it an event.
And all these other fans,
it makes it an event.
It would make it a lot more special. And I think what they're doing with Andor season 2, releasing 3 episodes a week, is an attempt to make it an event for a solid month. Because if they did an episode a week, it would last for 12 weeks, and I could see some of the steam dying out. But I think it's fantastic content.
what it also does is like when you have those episodes, because we have the segment of the fandom that wants to destroy a show because one episode, that's it, the show sucks. You know what I mean?
Yep. And it can derail a lot.
And it could derail it when it's like when it's dumped, right? If you dump all the episodes in 1 or 2 weeks, and it's like, oh no, they don't even go back and watch it. But if you make it a weekly thing, right, and you've invested 2 or 3 weeks, and then you get to this episode that might have bad press, right? And then you're like, okay, I'm done. Then a couple weeks pass, but then people are talking, hey, these episodes are getting good. You start drawing people back again towards the finale. You know what I mean?
And that's exactly what happened with Andor season 1. The views went up
right.
at the end.
Yeah.
I think that with Andor, because it's such good word of mouth Star Wars content, it lasting 12 weeks with season 1 and staying for a little bit, allowing it to marinate with the fandom, I think that's why it is,
because it has a Game of Thrones
long.
Feel.
Yes.
You know what I mean by Game of Thrones feel? It's obviously not the same kind of story, but there's intrigue, right? So it does have the intrigue like Game of Thrones does.
Every time you watch it, you learn something a little bit more. You appreciate it. That's the Game of Thrones ability.
And it's the build,
watch.
the build. It builds,
and
keeps building and building.
It does build up to something, and that's something I didn't really appreciate when I first watched it. Is that when I watched it like the second time, I was like, I love how Cassian does that arc with the heist on what is it? What's that place called? I can't remember.
With the thing.
Yeah. With the meteor shower and all that stuff. That heist was so cool. And then
the actor who plays the thing mom was in that.
Yeah. The what the fuck is his name?
The guy from The Bear. I keep forgetting his name.
He's great. He's great. He's great in that. But everything that happened with that heist has repercussions throughout the entire show. And like Cassian, when he talks to Marva, his mom, and everything like that, like she talks about it a little bit, like stuff like that is the payoff and the small stuff that makes it feel like a build up, like a show. And
watching him trying to run away, he wants to run away from everything, and you see him go to the resort world. He's trying to get away from it all,
and in the weeds. Yeah, he's always involved with all of it. It's amazing. Even One Way Out is one of the greatest moments for Star Wars. And
Stellan Skarsgård's just his. Lucian is
Luthen is such a captivating character.
Oh my fucking god, this guy is
I can't wait
brilliant.
To see him in this next one. Even his conversation with fucking Saw Gerrera, I thought was fantastic. Where like
I loved it.
He's like,
those
"What are you
actors?
losing?"
Oh my
god,
I
never
they
really
were fucking great.
Like this is what happens when you have professional level Disney Star Wars.
Saw Gerrera gets way too much hate in the Star Wars universe. I don't know why people hate him so much. It's like, I think he's a great fucking character.
Oh, I love him to death. I think people just think he's crazy, which is why I love him to death.
He's supposed to be. That's the point.
Yeah, that's exactly what he is. He's exactly what
he's a terrorist.
Star Wars needs.
He's that crazy. And that's why they avoided him, because he was the terrorist of the group. Absolutely. He wasn't he wasn't the fight fair kind of guy.
I think as a fandom, we need to all tune in for Andor season 2 to support this kind of show, because I think clearly with like the Acolyte, people didn't tune in. Lucasfilm listened. Star Wars fans did what we've always preached: vote with your wallet, vote with your view. Tune in for the stuff you like. Don't tune in for the stuff you think is not good and everything. And so they listened. I think with the Acolyte, didn't give us a season 2. I think they were always going to do 5 seasons of Andor. They cut it down to 2 or 3 and everything. But I think if we tune in for Andor season 2, it will show Lucasfilm that this is the kind of quality Star Wars content that we want. And one thing I'll even talk about too, when it comes to Ahsoka season 2, we talked about how they didn't renew it for like almost a month whenever Ahsoka finished up its first season. Dave Filoni and like Rosario Dawson, there was awkward kind of gestures towards the idea that like it was hard to get that season 2, because Dave Filoni, even when he showed the little Lothal cats, he's like, I gotta pay Disney for all the money that I need to make them. Like it was kind of, it was a joking way, but how people do that stuff where it's like they say the real stuff out loud, but it's like an inside joke or whatever that everyone else can laugh at the company. And Rosario Dawson kind of mentioned something about it too, about like, oh, you guys like are the reason we're able to do a second season and stuff like that. I don't want to make too much of it, but I did kind of get this feeling that the only reason Ahsoka season 2 is actually happening is because it is Dave Filoni. And
he personally
Disney
pushed for
was
it.
Like, yeah, well, and I think Disney was kind of like, look, you're gonna need to do a little better for the next one. Like we're
Right.
gonna need a little bit more return on investment because the views were not the
Leslie doesn't
greatest.
have the same kind of pull inside the company as
Well, and the views were so bad, and the reaction
yeah.
was so bad. I mean, honestly, like that one, I know there's a big movement online for it now, but like that, I said on Twitter, like shows like The Acolyte watered down the Star Wars brand in such a negative and bad way that it's not just the money that's the issue; it's the long-term impact of it that like really just does so much damage. We talked
I
about
liked
The
his
Acolyte
little
when it was coming
talk.
out and everything, but.
He the one thing I caught at a panel where he kept talking about how, and people do like Chopper. I know you really don't care about Rebels, and I wasn't a huge.
Chopper. I think it's
I know, and I wasn't such a
corny.
huge fan of Chopper, but people like Chopper. I think people like the idea of R2D2 with no fucking morals. Because that's what he is.
Yeah. I saw I think something that looked like Chopper with a machine gun at one point in the panel.
Well, because he's a homicidal maniac. His idea is just let's kill them all. Let's kill them all. Which, if it's coming from a droid, that makes sense. That's how a droid would think. Why are we fucking around? Let's just kill
I don't know, man. I thought BB-8 was cuter.
Yeah,
I like the maniac droids from like 000 from the Dr. Afra comics and everything like that. That stuff I think it's better than the homicide.
K2SO is pretty good too.
K2 solid, and that's another thing. I'm very much looking forward to seeing him come back for Andor season 2. I think that's going to be
Alan Tudyk is
addition.
another person like Sam Witwer. Alan Tudyk is just a masterful voice actor that he.
Well, and not only that, see, that's where I think sometimes Celebration does have great moments. When they were interviewing Diego Luna and Alan Tudyk, that was like a good moment. Like that felt good because those guys, sorry, outside of Star Wars, are very great, charismatic. Like you can tell sometimes when there's a difference between these like movie stars and just Star Wars actors, And so the energy is
Pedro,
different. With
and the
Alan
best
Tudyk.
guy they had with the sequels, which they couldn't hold on to because he's like, "Fuck, I'm done," is Oscar Isaacs. Oscar Isaacs,
He was
one of those
supposed
guys. to
be there, and he was supposed to do a conversation panel and everything like that, bro. They pulled him for that fucking Marvel sloop shop shit show, whatever the hell is coming up in the next Secret Avenger and Infinity War. I don't know why
in the MCU.
Oh, well, so what's he doing this weekend? Like, is there reshoots going on for one of the movies or something? Because they pulled him last minute from Celebration.
I don't know, because the only character he's played in MCU was Moon Knight. He had his own series, and everything with him has been kind of shelved since then. But they're supposedly wanted to bring him back for a Midnight Suns thing, which is kind of the horror side of Marvel. With Blade and Ghost Rider and all that kind of stuff that Moon Knight.
Well, he was supposed to be in fucking Tokyo this weekend and doing a panel called A Conversation with Oscar Isaac. I thought it would have been great to see him. They would have definitely interviewed him on the little live celebration stage thing, and they didn't. So I think that sucks they didn't have him on there. But yeah, the celebration stream, if you guys watched it, I'm going to be doing it again tonight. I'll be trying to do the whole thing. They will be announcing.
It is Moon Knight. They didn't say specifically. Knight, yeah. They didn't say specifically, but they said that it might mean Moon Knight is coming back due to changes in his production schedule. Was the official thing. That's all we were told.
No, he should have been at fucking Celebrate. You got. So
I think what you're talking about is people were rumoring maybe Moon Knight is in Doomsday because they're filming that.
Well, he should have been at Celebrate. That's my issue. Star Wars needs to be top priority.
But he's another one of those guys. Him, Diego Luna, Pedro Pascal, who are all Latino, by the way. All three of them, and Alan Tudyk. Those four guys, they're great on a mic when they're doing interviews with those guys.
You need those kind of talented people there. Like that's what people remember about it. Like going to Celebration, a couple of the big ones have always been like, oh my God, there's Mark Hamill, there's Carrie Fisher, there's Harrison Ford. Those are the big ones. And George Lucas showed up to this one and everything. Like 2 days in a row, they interviewed Ahmed Best on the live stage. I am sorry, guys.
I like
Jar
Ahmed,
Jar is not.
But he is not. It's not even Jar Jar. It's nothing personally against Ahmed Best. He seems like a very nice individual. He is not the most he is not the most compelling interview. He's just not.
Well, you know what I mean? I mean, you were Jar Jar, bro. Like I don't. I have no interest anymore. It's been
It doesn't even matter.
26 years. I don't care about talking about Jar Jar
but
anymore.
he's not. If he was a compelling interview, it'd still be interesting to hear from him. But he's not.
Yeah, even still, I'm. There's only so many times the Misa called Jar Jar Binks. It's demanded by it wasn't
Bro,
good.
how
then.
many?
I'm not gonna. Pretend.
I know Chewbacca's popular. Okay, I know.
Yeah,
but how many
huge.
times did they have dude talking at panels and he didn't have no lines? Okay, but it's because
it was
it's
Peter Mayhew. And
Peter Mayhew was at least
Peter
Mayhew was at least fun to talk to. People enjoyed talking to Peter Mayhew.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay,
you have those people with that kind of natural charisma and everything. Even Anthony Daniels, bro. Like I'm not the Anthony Daniels. He kind of always has a little the diva kind of personality sometimes that I find charming.
And all he
can get old after
has
a while.
is Star Wars. That's all he has.
And all
Star Wars.
And they
so
even
he's
teased
milk
about that
shit.
over the weekend. but stuff like that, it's fun having people like Anthony Daniels, those kind of people who've not only been around for the whole thing, but like are the stars. Like this one just didn't have that umph behind it where it was like you have to see what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Like I really think they should have streamed at least Sean Levy and Ryan Gosling walking out and them being like, by the way, we have another Star Wars movie to announce. Star Wars Starfighter.
But we didn't talk too much on him, but I do think I like Ryan Gosling. I think he's actually, if the script is good, even if the script isn't great, I think he's the kind of actor that can
elevate it no matter what. He is a professional. Right. And I think I talked about it earlier, but I want to get your thoughts on it. Like, do you think he will make a significant improvement and boost in the box office numbers? Because I think so. I think this is like I was saying, there's not a lot of big his name alone anymore.
whatever the final numbers are, let's say it's not a great movie. Okay, let's say it's a mediocre, does okay kind of movie. Okay, if it wasn't for him being there, it would have been a bomb. That's how much his name would add to it. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's a
and let's
one.
say it's let's say if it was let's say it makes $1 billion. Let's say it makes $1 billion. If his name wasn't there, I think he's 25% of that. That if it wasn't a name like him, that it could have just been a $750 million movie. You see what I'm saying?
It really depends on, like you said, how it looks. But I think you're kind of hitting the nail on the head there. There was a time where you hear, "Hey, Tom Cruise is in a new movie. Want to go see the new Tom Cruise movie this weekend?" You know, Ryan Gosling is one of the last kind of celebrities of the people don't forget. You know, some of the younger audience. He was in like the Mickey Mouse Club. You know, there's not a lot of celebrities.
The Fall Guy, the Fall Guy was a good movie. That came out recently with him in it.
He's just been around for so long. He is Hollywood royalty, and he is some of these people who used to be like made in factories to be stars, and he is terrific at it. You know, he's good PR, and I think it's going to do wonders.
And he's
for Star Wars.
He's very unassuming on the mic. He's just a real fun. Not like Pedro Pascal, Leo Luna, like, oh my God, compelling interview. He's just one of those fun interviews. You know what I mean? It's like,
no. If he's speaking, you'll listen. Absolutely, you'll listen. You know, it's nothing outrageous, but it's exactly what it needs to be. And that's one thing I did like about doing the celebration stream and everything is that they did have Sean Levy and Ryan Gosling doing interviews on the thing. You know, they did have a lot of these big people. They had Kathleen Kennedy.
And can we say, correct me if I am wrong, but Sean Levy, did he, of all the movies that have come out since Disney has owned it, of any time they've done any kind of interviews or any kind of announcements, he genuinely seems to be the most excited to be making a movie of everyone I've seen.
Oh, for Star Wars? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He was like Feige up there. He was like, rah, rah. He was like hype. You know what I mean?
He had a lot of charisma. Because now Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are just so used to all of it. They're just like, yeah, and so the next part of the Star Wars project is like, are you excited? Like, of course I'm excited.
It reminds me, it'd be like, to me, it reminded me of like if James Gunn would have been directing a movie. That's the kind of energy I felt from him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He is passionate about his project, for sure. There was that one actress who passed on it this past week from the Quentin Tarantino movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and she's great, but she won't be attached to this. But still, I think, like you were saying, Ryan Gosling is going to do wonders for this movie. And I'll be honest, man, I'm feeling some good stuff about maybe this could hit that $1 billion box office mark.
Put a pin in it. If it happens, I still believe, unless they show me otherwise, that he is a Jedi and his last name is Starfighter.
I think this is going to be Rogue Squadron
Clip
made
this,
into
guys,
a different movie.
because if that happens, I want the credit.
We will give you the credit. And we got to get Palpameme's thoughts on if this will hit $1 billion in the box office. I know he's saying Mando and Grogu won't, but if it does, we do still have to send him crow to eat live on the show. If it does,
he's got to make he's got to make, even if it's via satellite recorded, he's got to make an appearance of eating that crow.
Absolutely. Do I have to parlay now for the second movie, Star Wars Starfighter? Is that how that works? Where I can parlay now if that also hits $1 billion in the box office?
You're doubling down, right? You could take a huge loss, but the dividends if you win are huge.
Insane in the membrane. Got two years, literally 2 years to see what happens with all this. It's kind of crazy. Star Wars has a future, man. It's for the immediate. It's for the next couple of years, but they are committing to 2 years, and I am interested.
Yeah.
Do you think it is a higher likelihood that both of these hit $1 billion in the box office, and that kind of means Star Wars actually does have a promising future, or do you think maybe one of them will hit it and the other one won't, or neither of them will hit it?
I'm hoping with the fact that we had a celebration, which typically when we have a celebration, there is a little boost to fandom morale. Okay, just the fact that there's a celebration. Just the fact that there's a celebration and people can cosplay and people come out, that gives a kind of an artificial boost to morale. Now, again, the fact that it's a year away from anything major happening, we can come down off that high pretty quickly. From it. But I think there's enough separation that's been happening. And if Andor does what as expected, if it does it at least as well as its season 1 did with reception, okay? And if it does at least as good as season 1 did with reception, if not better. And Ahsoka, is Ahsoka before or after Mandalorian?
More than likely going to be after the Mandalorian.
Because we don't have a set date on it yet, right? We just know
it's starting production. Well, it's starting filming this week. So I mean, normally. So
all we really have is Andor before Mandalorian and Grogu, right?
Yeah, no,
that's it. That we don't have anything. Visions or Maul is after it too.
Yeah.
Okay, so all we have is Andor. So that's all we have to keep us going. To keep morale up is Andor. Yeah, and then
you see why I'm getting concerned, like
yeah, and then it's a whole year. There'll be some animated shit that comes out. I'm telling you, guaranteed there'll be something on Disney.
They just announced everything they could have announced. What are they going to do?
But they didn't give any dates on it. They didn't give any dates. Animation shit can get done pretty quickly. I wouldn't be surprised if Maul came out before Mandalorian and Grogu. I'm serious.
Yeah, but that's not going to do much for Mandalorian and Grogu.
Visions their best would come out before.
Season 3, yeah,
I know.
That's not going to do much either.
Again, it's not going to be
I know what it is.
Empty.
Star Wars Lego Rebuild the Galaxy.
Fuck you with the
Darth
fucking
Jar
Lego
Jar.
bullshit.
That's going to really boost the numbers. Yeah, no.
Anyway, but I still believe Mando has potential to hit that just because of Grogu.
I do too. I think with Disney backing it, if they
know Pebble Memes hates that. That's not real. No, that's not real fans. That's just soccer moms buying shit. It doesn't matter. If the money comes in, it's good. Moms. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because
I
the money comes in.
I live in Orlando. I see these people all the time with their Disney merch and everything, what they're buying. I see what people buy. That Star Wars stuff is popular. And that's why I think a Mandalorian and Grogu could hit $1 billion if Disney gets behind it and says, all right, we're marketing the shit out of this at the parks. This is going to be all over Disney for a long time.
Even them overpriced, but yet still popular lightsabers that they sell there, which I still can't believe people buy that garbage.
People line up for, absolutely. So yeah, I think it could hit $1 billion, but I think they should have announced like a Force Friday event for this, marketing. They should have announced the celebration, a big marketing campaign that was going to start later this year for the Mandalorian and Grogu, like a toy release, like books, comic books and everything, a new publishing line for it. They should have done a lot more, in my opinion, for it than what they did. Overall, I've had a great time streaming the celebration, but it hasn't been as impactful as like the last one was. So it's the beginning of a new era for sure, and it just doesn't really feel like that at the moment.
Before we clock out, I completely missed this. Katie Miller, always consistent, sending us a super chat way early on in the stream. Thank you, Katie.
Oh, thank you.
Much appreciated. I don't want to let that slide by without giving a thank you. Thank you very much, Katie.
You got that. I did not catch that.
Yeah.
And last, I guess, little tidbit is Star Wars Your Company. Did you see anything about that at all?
About what?
There's a new video game from Respawn and Bit Reactor and EA Star Wars. It's a strategy game called Star Wars Zero Company, set during the Clone Wars.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, there's the Jedi you can play. It's kind of like it's a like single action player, I think, or like a turn-based like strategy game. It looks pretty cool, honestly. There's a clone trooper named Trick, which is so funny because Trick in like the hood
Star
is an
Wars
insult.
Tactics game by Bit Reactor. And it looks
you get like a Jedi, a smuggler, a clone trooper, an Umbarian. Oh, a Mandalorian. She looks fucking badass. She looks really badass.
Incorporate meaningful outcomes from player choices. So what it feels like to me is they're trying to piggyback on what Larian Studios did with Baldur's Gate. Because people really loved with Baldur's Gate about how you make all these choices and where your character goes and what happens was based on your choices.
Yeah, I like that too. People, and it's different for Star Wars. They should do every type of game they can for.
Oh, because the galaxy's so huge. So people forget that how much shit happens.
Yeah, you can do anything, and I'm glad to see them trying different stuff.
The galaxy is so huge, and there's so many facets of things. There's the whole underworld aspect. There's the whole rebel aspect, depending on what era you're in. Clone Wars, this, blah blah blah, and there's even the whole thing of being force sensitive and not being a Jedi.
Oh my god! Dude, I would pay like $1,000 for a video game about you being a Sith in training or something like that. You don't even have to kill Jedi or something like that. You can just go off and do other shit. There's so much.
Just be a dark side user and just being rogue, just doing shit on your own.
Yeah, there's so much potential with Star Wars. It's disappointing sometimes what we haven't received with the games yet. There's so much potential. That's why people like me and you are always going to be here, because we see the potential, and when it's great, it's fucking great.
Because all it takes is just one good creator. If they hire just the right person that can make something spectacular.
Jon Favreau.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
J.J. Abrams. George Lucas. Irvin
Ryan
Kershner.
Johnson.
Larry Kasdan. Ryan who?
I got to speak for Goldman,
guy?
Ryan Johnson.
God damn it. Yep. He would have said it. I remember Ryan. But yeah, no, I've had a great time this weekend with Celebration. I wouldn't give it a great rating as a Celebration in whole. This was average. Not disappointing, but not anything I was like, oh, fantastic. From my end, I'll be doing the last and final day tonight, streaming on my channel. So if you guys are watching this, you can spend all night with me. You don't have to be lonely at Star Wars Only. I'll be watching the whole thing.
I'll be playing D&D.
Let's see, he's doing his usual. I gotta break the pattern just to do some fucking Star Wars stuff. Lunga,
it's not even my games. I'm a player in someone else's game.
Oh, now you're playing it. Okay, yeah.
Rather than being a DM, I'm a player.
My, how the times are changing. Do you want to come back next or this coming Wednesday and do Andor season 2, or should we wait till it kind of like ends?
we
you want to
what because they're releasing it 3-episode blocks all at once, right?
All at once every Tuesday night.
And then it's every Tuesday night.
Wednesday.
Yeah. I mean it lines up. Why not?
I'm down to do it if you're able to watch all the episodes.
Hold on. I can't. That's the problem. No, I can't. Tuesday night's my D&D night. And now I'm working full. I don't have that break in the middle anymore. I'm working full time.
Yeah, and they're dropping like a movie each time.
So I would get home at 4:30 and I'd have to watch all of them by the time we streamed.
Yeah. See, that's okay. I mean, I'll be doing it. I'll be doing stuff.
And
on my
I don't think there's enougenough time in that 5:30, 6:30, 7:30, 3 hours. I mean, I would literally be finishing if I did nothing. I came home and just immediately started watching it. I'd be finishing the last episode right before we start streaming.
and then we do the show. Then you'd have to eat after, sleep, and we both wake up early for our jobs too. We're both very early risers. Like I normally get up at like 5 a.m. for my job. I mean. I'm down to do any kind of Chatooine stuff for Andor, but I mean, we're not
debating if we'll do it. We're just debating on what days.
Yeah.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna cover Andor. We're just trying to figure out which day would be best.
It's just a question of should we just might do something after the
I mean, should we just do
episodes?
I don't want to wait a whole week. I mean, do you want to just switch it to Thursday nights for now?
Whatever night works best for you. I'm good. Yeah, I'm
yeah, because I can do Thursday nights because then I can watch it at my leisure on Wednesday. And if I don't watch it all, I could watch an episode Thursday when I get home. And then I'll have seen it all.
Thursday absolutely Thursday works nights. For me. I don't have that one studio job I had a couple years ago that kept me busy Thursday night. So I'm good for Thursdays.
Like if it was that thing like we talked about where they did it once a week, definitely I could watch it when I come home.
And I knew that would be a problem going into this just as a content creator in general, because even for me, I'm like, damn, I would love to stream Tuesday nights with the thing, but it's 3 hours, and then I want to make a video for it the next day, so I got to make that kind of overnight because I have to be at work at like 6 a.m. normally. So it's just it's a lot, but yeah, no, that works for me. Thursday nights, it makes it even easier for me. So
Thursday nights,
Thursday night.
So we'll be doing 3 shows.
Yeah, and then after that, we're going back to seclusion.
Back on hiatus.
Yeah, I got to keep working on my documentary, and I got to get my channel going. And Lunga's got to kill all the D&D DMs in the world and become the ultimate fucking D&D DM. And god damn it, build the greatest fucking suit of Beskar armor the side of the West Mississippi. We're on the east side of the Mississippi, I think. Me and you.
I am.
Yeah, me too. On the east side.
Just on the east side, because the western border of Illinois is the Mississippi, and Chicago's on the eastern border of Illinois. So.
That's right. And I am from Texas, so I don't care about anything north of South Dakota. Except apparently Japan.
Just driving through, like Europeans, when Europeans come to the U.S. and they visit, say, Texas, it's like driving. If you want to drive from one side of Texas to the other, it's like we would have passed through 3 countries in Europe.
Yeah. I remember in Texas, people being like, "Oh, that's about a 2.5 hour drive. Oh, that's not bad at all." You say it's a European, they're like, "That's a whole fucking country, brother. Like that's a lot." Man, what do you mean? Like 6 hours ain't nothing to me, man. I did a 17-hour drive 7 times in 2020.
I mean, Illinois is not a huge state, but it's not small either. But if you're going from north to south, Chicago to St. Louis, it's 5 hours.
Yeah, that ain't but a hop and a skip away. That might take a minute, But yeah, we will be back Thursday nights. Thank you guys for tuning into this very special Chatooine episode. This was a very good time. Once again, I'll be back tonight doing a stream on my channel if you want to watch the celebration live stream with me. It'll be like chilling on the couch, watching it with a friend. And me and Lunga will be back Thursday night this coming week to react to the first 3 episodes of Andor, the first arc of season 2.
Yes, sir.
End of an era. Well, we'll see you all next time. Thanks for tuning in to the Chatooine Show, and may the Force be with you always.